If you've purchased the Executive Order Module license for DVAP Base, you'll have access to the availability data functions. The availability data is a record of the percentage of females and minorities who are available for a particular job group. That is, they have the requisite skills to perform the work. Availability data is composed of internal factors and external factors. Internal factors indicate the availability of people within the company to perform the job, and external factors indicate the availability of people in the external recruiting areas with the skills to perform the job. In DVAP Base, the availability form allows you to directly enter and edit these factors. You can access the form by clicking on the availability button here in the data editing step. So this is the availability form. There's two basic areas on the form. On the left, we have the groups for which availability is being entered or edited. And on the right are the factors where the availability counts themselves are entered and edited. Availability is organized at a higher level into a selected organizational structure for your company. In nearly all cases, you'll define availability for each job group in each establishment or site in your company. DVAP Base refers to this top level structure as the key field and is determined by the type of AAP being developed. Traditional or location-based AAPs identify the establishments or sites in the company. Then within each establishment, the job groups are identified and availability is defined for each job group within each establishment. DVAP Base allows you to organize your availability by other company structures as well. For example, if you're developing a functional AAP based on functions, not geographic locations, then you might define availability for each job group within each function rather than each establishment. DVAP Base refers to the groups for which availability is defined as the group field. This dataset has absolutely no availability data defined, as you can see. So the first step to manually creating availability data is to click the Add button here at the bottom of the form. This opens a dialog asking for the key and group of the new availability. First, select which fields in the workforce will be the key and group. We'll use the most common establishment and job group by selecting them from these drop-downs. So the key will be establishment, and the group being job group. Now, as soon as I identify the establishment as the key field, all of these establishments in my workforce are listed here. So we need to select which establishment we're developing availability for. Let's say California. And as soon as I select California, all of the job groups within California are filled in this list here. So let's select Attorney Generalist as the job group, and then we'll click Add. Great. So we've created an availability record for this job group, and as you can see that in the list, any defined availability is listed and organized by key here, and then by each job group underneath. But you can't really see how this is organized. Let's quickly create a few more availability records so we can better see this. Although we only have a few job groups here, if you are working on a company with many establishments and each establishment having many groups, this list can get very long very quickly. To quickly find a desired group, just enter part of the name in this search box at the bottom here, and it'll quickly filter the list down to just that. For instance, if we're looking for just job groups that have business in them, if I type in BUS, the list filters down to just the job groups that contain this text. You can click Clear to clear that filter. Now we have availability defined for these groups, but there are no factors defined yet. Without the factors, the availability isn't of much use. So let's flesh out one of these job groups. I'll select a group and add an internal and external factor. The availability for any group can consist of any number of internal and external factors. However, it usually only requires one or two of each to describe the availability for any group. Let's look at what makes up a factor. Each factor is given a weight, which is the percentage that it contributes to the total availability of the group. The total of all the weights for all the factors in a group should add up to exactly 100. How much weight the internal and external factors should be given are a function of how employees come into the group. If 80% of the employees added to the group in each year are due to promotions and 20% are from new hires recruited externally, then the internal factor should be weighted at 80 and the external at 20. So let's do that. The order of the factor is only used when you have multiple internal or external factors. The order controls how the factors are displayed in reports. The main part of a factor is the populations. Here, the total number of individuals and the number of females and minorities must be entered. For the internal factor, this is typically the counts of promotions into the group. For external factors, that is typically the population of the group's recruiting area from the most recent census. We'll get to that in a moment. As the populations are entered, we'll just enter some sample values here. As the populations are entered, you can see the raw percentages and the weighted percentages being updated automatically. The raw percentages are simply based on the populations. The weighted percentages are the raw percentages multiplied by the weight of the factor. So you can see that in this case, females, there are 10 out of 100 females, so the raw percentage is 10%. And since this factor is being weighted at 80%, the weighted percentage for females is 80% of 10, which is 8%. And the same goes for all the other factors here. The rationale field is for entering the information about where the numbers in the factor have come from. So we'll just indicate that this is from internal promotion information. While these values are being updated for the factor, at the bottom here there's a display of the total weighted availability. This is the sum of all the weighted percentages of all the factors in the job group. These are the final availability percentages that are used in all of the analyses that examine availability. Now below the weighted availability is the workforce makeup of the current job group. These are the percentages of employees in this job group in this establishment. As I change the job group, you can see that these values are updated to reflect the workforce representation of the currently selected group. These percentages can be helpful when fine-tuning availability factors. Now between the internal and external factor areas is a horizontal bar that can be dragged vertically to give more of the screen area to internal or external factors as you work on them. The external factors can be manually prepared just like the internal factors. However, DVAP-Base has a powerful module called SenseBase that can quickly calculate the external factor counts directly from the latest census data. If you've licensed the SenseBase module, you can click on the SenseBase button here to open SenseBase. For details on how to use SenseBase, watch the SenseBase video tutorial, but for now, I'll have SenseBase compute the census populations for this job group. And now using these controls at the lower right, I can instruct SenseBase to return these counts to the internal factor for this job group. Now you can see that the external factor has been populated with the counts from SenseBase. Using these same steps, additional internal or external factors can be added for any job group, and all of the availability information can be defined for your company. This would be pretty tedious to do for large companies, but DVAP-Base includes the availability generator, which can automate this process in most cases. For more details, see the availability generator tutorial video.